tell us like the craziest thing that's ever happened to you?
Craziest. It's gonna stay between us.
I got raped before. That's the craziest thing that ever happened to me.
Maybe something a little under that. Maybe something.
Let's go.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
maybe something.
shootout.
Yeah, there we go. Shootout.
There we go.
High speed.
Yeah, that's more what we were thinking.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Wait.
I'm sorry. What's we just want to say we are sorry that this happened.
That is definitely
that is bad.
That is unfortunate.
It's not something we should speak on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the shootouts and stuff. Wow. You know, you have done a lot of things.
Yeah, I have.
And now you're a big rapper.
Shout out to Yum Stacy for the clip and Safe Space podcast with Lil Yachty. And that's somebody made a comment saying it's ironic that it's called Safe Space, but then when she said this, they laughed, which was very disrespectful. Even though I think it was a nervous laughter, not making excuses, but let's be real. We know how YouTube is, and we can only imagine how these other platforms are as far as when it comes to Cape. So I can see why my man said this is not something we should talk about, and they veered off from it. But at the same time, you got to ask yourself, what if this was your little cousin talking, your little girl cousin, and you asked that question like trying to bond with her, and she said that? I don't think your first response would be to laugh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if that was the case, you would very much want to dive deep into that situation and conversation and figure out what was going on and what happened and who did what. But I get that they don't know Sexyy Red, and Sexyy Red is an entertainer, and they entertainers, and they like, oh, we just vibing, and this podcast and this platform ain't really friendly to this type of talk, so maybe we shouldn't be the ones to dive deep into that. And then maybe that's a conversation for a therapist or this, that, and other. But you got to understand, too, she viewed y'all as peers enough to open up and say this to. So while you may not have wanted that conversation to go that way and you envisioned it to be some type of vibe and some type of whatever, she opened up to you and let you know something that's very deep. Like you kind of got to go with that. I get that it ain't the vibe and it's the nervous laughter and this, that, and other. But like I say, if it was your little cousin, I don't think you would be laughing it off. I think you would take it very serious. So this answers a lot of questions for us as far as Sexyy Red and her persona. And this ain't all a persona. This is her. And she said this is her, you know. But we see why. Because we know when a lot of people go through, whether it's men or women, they go through these type of traumatic experiences, that they come out on the other side of it very promiscuous and very, you know, sexual and on that type of time. So a lot of times we don't take the time to see where it's coming from or ask where it's coming from, you know, but you know, they want to hear about the gunshots and let's talk about the gun shooting and this, that, and other rather than this. But it's like, dog, we know this exists in every community. But in the black community, for sure it exists. For sure it's a lot of black women that's been touched on, that's been disrespected, that has been done wrong. There's a lot of black men that have been done this way. And it confuses them sexually, as far as what their orientation is. It makes people very promiscuous. And I'm just going to say, I know it was a nervous laughter and it was like they was caught off guard, but it's still disrespectful to not take her feelings into account, because moments like that will make people not want to talk no more. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that is already deeply hard to discuss. You don't want to share stuff like that with people, which it confuses me why she chose that moment in that time on that podcast to just waft that out there. But it came to her mind and she decided to share that with y'all. And I feel like at the very least, man, y'all could have just been inviting to it. Or maybe you could have cut it out of the video. It's no answer of why they kept this in. but then didn't continue to talk about it. Like, if you wasn't going to continue to talk about it, then I feel like cut it out of the video. You know what I'm saying? Why keep that snippet in and then dismiss what she said and not talk about it? It could have been a hiccup. It could have been a slick moment. Maybe y'all have talked about it off camera afterwards or whatever. But I feel like, man, there's too many of our women going through these type of situations. And yeah, I have to say this because I am critical of our women. I'm critical of our men, of a lot of the stupid things that we do and a lot of the stupid things that we portray. I did a video on Sexy Red like 2 days ago of her in this same podcast, which I didn't watch the entirety of it. I just watched the clip of her talking about how she don't use condoms and she the raw dog queen and how irresponsible that was for her to tell all the young girls to follow in her footsteps. And I still stand on that. It still was stupid and irresponsible for her to talk like this and tell young girls to behave in this manner. But I also, as you see the beginnings of where this started, possibly, my heart goes out to her. And we should not be laughing at this type of thing or glossing over it like it ain't nothing. And like I say, I reiterate once again, I get they podcast, no matter what they named it, Safe Space. I feel like don't name it that then. But, they named it that for whatever reasons. But it's like, oh, you on there, it's a vibe. And we y'all smoking hookah and kicking it and talking about freaky stuff or crazy stuff or whatever. And it's like, oh, this ain't the place for that. But it is, though. Because outside of that, when is the place for it? When is the place to talk about these things? It's never comfortable. So when you have someone choose you as the person at the awkward time to open up and tell you something like this, it's definitely the time to talk about it. Now, whether you edit it out or do whatever you do after the fact, it's definitely the time to talk. Because she made, like, how many people have she told this? I don't know. I don't know why she chose to share it with y'all on this platform. And it was hilarious to me that the guy even said, tell us something crazy that happened. It's just between us. How is it just between y'all and y'all just doing a podcast? Shut up, man. But either way, they went forward and talked about it. And it's like, okay, man, she shared that with you. And then now we have to dismiss it because this ain't the platform or this, that, and other. But I feel like, man, we could have at least dove into that and talked about it. Cameras rolling or not. Cameras rolling, whatever. She was brave enough to say it. She was comfortable enough to say it around y'all. Let's talk about it. Yeah, it's going to change the vibe of the show. But everything ain't always got to be about a vibe, man. It don't. Sometimes stuff can start off as a vibe, but it need to turn into some healing. Because as you look at the men and women, especially the men and women of the black community, we all need some therapy, some healing. We need release from trauma. We need all of that. So let's not dismiss it when somebody pour their heart out to you. Because we can clearly see that she's went through something. And she's projecting it as far as the promiscuity and all of that. And even if you haven't been touched in the wrong way or whatever, we've all been to the point to where we are young and dumb and out here doing freaky stuff or whatever. But it's exponentially worse for our young men and our young women that have been definitely touched wrongly or been through something traumatic like that. So if they choose to open up to you, man, we got to do better about being more accepting to that. And I'm not getting on Lil Yachty and them because I know it was an awkward conversation to have and they felt like, man, maybe we ain't the ones that you should have that conversation with. But sometimes, like I said, if it was your little cousin, you would have both been for that conversation. it would have been no laughter. If that was your daughter, it would have been no laughter. It would have been like, what happened, who? You would have been ready to go see about somebody. So all I can say is view Sexy Red in the same way. I'm still going to hold her accountable for the ratchet behavior that she projects. But at the same token, we still need to have the attitude of who we need to go see about who did our young sister wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a tough, traumatic experience to go through. This your boy, P Camp. Tell me what you think about it, what you don't think about it. Get at your boy.